opportunity to be here. And before I get started, I just want to make sure that I'm clear that I'm here to talk about Black Diamond Middle School and what we're doing here, not about all middle schools in our district or all schools in our district. This is just us because we are a neighbor. We're right here in this part of the community. So I was asked to share a little bit about us, from our demographic data to challenges and opportunities and partnerships and things that we have. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Black Diamond and let you know who we are. First of all, we're a small middle school because we're just a 7-8. We're not a 6-7-8 middle school. And our enrollment is small. We're a little less than 400 kids. But I need you to understand that 75% of my kids still qualify for free and reduced lunch, which says that they are social economically disadvantaged. And the composition of my school is we're predominantly Hispanic and African American as our largest populations, but we are diverse in that we have representatives of all other ethnic groups there as well. The thing that's important to note, though, is that we have a percentage of our students who are foster students and who are homeless as well. And they make up some of that 75%. The other demographic piece that's important to understand is that the majority of my parents work outside of the Antioch community. So they are gone at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and they don't come back until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. So their children are either latchkey kids or cared for by other community members, or just free and available to do what they want because there's not adult supervision always provided for them. Although we qualify as a Title I school, the wonderful opportunities that Donnie talked about this morning are not available at my school. So we do not have an ACEs program or any of those types of resources for our children in our schools. And as Donnie and others alluded to this morning, one of the largest needs that we have for our kids is on the social emotional side, as you can well imagine, because they are pretty much left to their own devices a lot, and there's a lot of issues for developmentally for this age group, especially with social media, which is the bane of my existence. And well, only because my children are too young to understand all of the ramifications of the use of social media, so therefore they're not as aware of the dangers that it presents for them. Let's see, in terms of opportunities, currently one of our partners that we've been working with a lot are the Rotary here in town. The Rotary has been a great support to our middle school sports program so that we are able to offer flag football, soccer, basketball, volleyball as activities throughout the year. In fact, we just finished our volleyball championships. We didn't win first place this year, unfortunately. Usually we do, but we didn't. So we just finished that, and they support us through funding for it, as well as recognition, and also the PAL, because they give us our banners and things that really spark our kids to work hard with their academics so that they're eligible to participate in those sports, which is really nice. And we have soccer season coming up, so look for the games and please come out and support our kids because they enjoy having an audience to show their performances too. So Rotary has been very critical for us in doing that. They also have fostered the growth of our Girls Empowerment Program, so that now in this district every year in the fall, in October, we take all 8th grade girls in the district to the fairgrounds where we have a speaker that comes from the outside of our community, usually activities for them to do, but an opportunity for all 8th grade girls to come together in a forum where they can talk about those issues of becoming young ladies. And our theme has been consistently, what would you do if you were not afraid to fail? And it's trying to empower them to really challenge themselves far beyond what they think they can do. And Rotary has been a huge support of that activity. So we get our buses and everything to get all of those girls, because if you can imagine, that's every middle school in Antioch and other schools here come together at the fairgrounds. It's really a lot of fun. I would invite you to come and check it out. Come this October, we'll do that. They also help us with an activity. In fact, ours is this Friday, the International Day of the Women. We'll do our spring activity for our girls, where there'll be activities around, again, empowering young ladies and helping them to remember those who've gone on before them, and also a bridging activity, because this activity is for 8th graders, but we bridge our 7th graders into it coming this spring, so that they have something to look forward to in the fall. And again, that's Rotary. I can't say enough about Rotary. They have moved into our manhood development classes now, so that they can do a similar type thing with our young men. And as you can imagine, our young men really need that guiding hand and direction, and they are providing that through, we're just feeling our way through this right now. They've been a great partner with us with this. So this spring, our manhood development classes that we currently have on campus will be participating in some workshops around those issues that pertain to young men coming of age in this day and age. So those classes will do that. They'll get a lot from that, which they will take back to their campuses to do some activity come this fall for all of the young men on our campus, which I'm really excited about. Being able to spread that opportunity for kids at this developmental age to have mentors in their lives who can show them what the possibilities are for them. So again, talking a lot about Rotary, but they've been there. They showed up. So that's why they're there. So Sal, if you hear this or whatever, I'm talking about Sobrante. I'm talking about your Rotary folks. In terms of other opportunities for our kids or partnerships that we're working on, our school is going through a redesign process. And that is, we are becoming a project-based learning school, project problem-based learning school. We are looking for another way to impact the learning and the engagement of our kids in this district. So what we're doing is we're partnering with a group called the New Tech Network, who's a nationwide group that goes into schools to bring project or problem-based learning there. Why project or problem-based learning, you might want to say?
Because it's good.
Yes.
Because it works.
I'm talking to a community who knows, especially at the middle school level, with developmentally where our kids are. This is one of the most positive ways to engage kids in the learning process, because they are creating their learning. So it's no longer the teachers, the sage on stage, departing wisdom to the kids. It's all of us working collaboratively together to learn, where the kids are taking the lead. There is a driving question or some kind of problem that is presented, and the kids are set free to find out all they can about it and to come up with a solution. And oftentimes the product that they produce, that is whatever they find, and when they deliver that, is delivered to industry people who work in that. In other words, they're working like people would work in any field out in the public. So that their findings, let's say if their question they were trying to address was one about youth services or in the community for kids and things like that, they would invite Nancy, right? Nancy, they would invite Sean, they would invite the mayor, the director of rec. things like that, to come sit as
They
a
won't invite
panel.
me.
No.
City council
I'm
members
just
too.
kidding, I'm only kidding.
They would invite them to come and sit as a panel to listen to what they found about youth services in their community and what they're suggesting to do with it. So yes, that's a problem that's local that they may have high interest in, but what skills did they learn from doing this? Employability skills. They learn how to make a presentation, to orally deliver it in some way. They learn how to research something. They learn how to write it in informational or technical type way in order to present it. They learned all those skills that we need to teach them in education, but it's from a practical application of it, which engages them even more. Our school is, we've been very blessed by our district because they're behind us with this, supporting us. Because it's gonna require that my school become a one-to-one technology-based school. Why? Because my kids need to learn how to use technology like you do. When you come to your office in the morning, when you go to your computer, you pull up your emails, what do I have, you make your calendar, you do all of it. My kids need to use technology that way. You have an issue or concern, you go to research it either online or whatever, my kids need to do it that way. Not to play games, not to do all of that other stuff that they really, that social media thing I was telling you about. They don't need to worry about that. They need to use social media to activate change within their community or for themselves. They need to know that I can go on to, they don't do Facebook, but they do all that other stuff. I need to go on those things to rally people to my cause or things like that. That's the use they need to learn from that, and project-based learning will allow them to do that. So this is just one step in the phase of the transformation of Black Diamond. We will go from becoming a project-based learning school at 7th and 8th grade over these next 2 years. My 7th grade team is being trained this year in the summer to start that in the fall. And my 8th grade team will be trained after that. We're still changing our schedule to block schedule so we can give more time for our students to have time to work on this. We're pairing them so English and history teachers will work together on a block, teaching 50 to 60 kids. Math, I'm sorry, my scores are low, I need to bring them up, so it'll be 2 math teachers working with 50 to 60 kids to do that. Science and STEM will do that. Again, the object is to give them ample time, space, and opportunity to learn and to show what they are doing. In years coming from that, Black Diamond will become a 7-12 school that's a middle college model, which will push our kids into secondary level where they are able to take community college classes so that by the time they graduate, they will graduate with their 2 years of community college done, or their first 2 years of college done. We are taking our time with this to make sure it's an excellent program rather than trying to push and shove something to just get it done. We want to make sure that it's a lasting impact that we have on kids. So through that, I want to talk a little more about partnerships. We hope to be able, and I'm talking into future to this, to partner with lots of people in our communities, because in order for our kids to have these real world experiences, they're going to need to tie them to people who are doing these things. So, Mr. City Manager, some of my kids may call you up one day and say, well, we want to know how the city does, whoa, and can you come and sit with us, or can we come see you? That will be their way of reaching out, doing their research, trying to find their information, which we hope will hook you in to come back and see what the product looks like that they produce. Same thing for your elected officials at the state level and all. How does this work? Why aren't our schools getting the funding that we need? My kids may be reaching out to you. They may be reaching out to anybody, any place that they can find to get information to do things, which will hopefully bring a lot of partners into our school. Your mayor can speak to this because he works with our high schools with their work-based learning projects now. Well, we're gonna be tapping into some of our high school's resources as well, so sorry, we'll be calling you too.
I'm ready.
But to bring that down to the middle school level. Partners, we got a grant from the California Department of Education to bring to middle school more opportunities for our kids to learn about career technical education. And through our redesign plan with the project-based learning, we have a perfect gateway into bringing CTE classes into our middle school. We have excellent programs at our high school, was just in Sacramento yesterday, well, last night, with our Business and Finance Academy at Deer Valley, who was receiving a state award from the California Department of Education as an outstanding California Partnership Academy in the state of California. That's one of the ones that we will be partnering with, as well as the Law Academy, who received the award a couple years ago for the same thing. Our kids will have that opportunity to experience some of what they are doing at the high school in middle school, which will hopefully gain their engagement in the learning process to make them more eager to learn more. So let's see what else. You asked about funding and what kinds of monies were available to us in school. Yes, I am a Title I school, but I'm a small school. Title I is based on your enrollment. So with a small enrollment, I do have a small Title I budget. I am fortunate that through our district's LCAP and others, I have some additional funding for providing activities for my kids, and through that, we provide an after-school program. Don't think her after-school program, that's on steroids, that's not us. What we provide is homework help every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday after school for our kids for an hour, where my teachers are there after school to provide additional assistance to those kids who need help. We call it homework help, but it's whatever help they need. We also provide opportunities for different clubs or activities. We have a kitchen on our campus from our home ec room, so we provide baking or cooking classes at different times of the year with different themes. We provide a gaming club after school. We try and do an open gym as well after school, but we tie our after school program to grade point average. So if you want to play in our open gym, you have to have your grades up. Otherwise, you have to come to do the homework club first, and then you can go to the gym and play. Because again, we're schools, we're about academics. We're about our kids being able to achieve so that they can take the classes they want and need to take when they get to high school, not those that they have to because they didn't do well while they were with us. So our after-school program is a lot of fun, and we do a lot of different things through it, but it is nominal in size compared to what the district provides for at the other schools that have those kinds of programs. The thing that I'd like to stress most about our kids when it comes to looking at providing services for them is going back to what I said earlier about my parents who work literally, because I get to talk to them. They leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning, they wake their kids up for the first time, because you know they have to call back and wake them up again because the clock doesn't do it. But they leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, they come home at 5 or 6 in the evening. They are not there from the time my kids get out at 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the evening. And I have no activities for them other than our after-school activities on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday if they care to participate, but they're academic-based. The other thing is that 75% of my kids qualify for free and reduced lunch. So those households don't have expendable monies to pay for a lot of the wonderful activities that the city offers that are fee-based. They're not gonna have that money. So that half price, 15% off thing is a great thing, because at least it gets them a little bit closer. And that the The other biggest thing that I would say is that any kind of activities that help meet the social emotional needs of my kids, that keeps them away from using social media as their means of coping, because you know people lie on social media and kids believe anything you say because it's written there on that screen. Any kind of services that do that are some things that we really, truly need in this community more than anything. And then I guess I will close this by simply saying that one of the things that I found in all the work that I do, but especially in working with my parents and with my students, is communication is key. If you don't communicate in multiple needs or multiple ways with parents, and especially through their students or with their students, they're not hearing, they don't get the messages. The questions they ask me, because if you were to ask now my parents what kind of services are available in the community for their kids, they will tell you none, that there are just none here. Even when you point out ones that are, because whenever we get information, we try and pass it along to our parents so that they know there are those opportunities there for their kids. It's still a hard nut to crack of getting communication out. And I'm gonna say that for me, for us in communicating just about what's going on in school, for what we've been doing with this redesign, for anything, it's hard to get it out there. So the more you communicate, the better. And everybody who's listening or who's here today needs to take this message forward, that there's a need. There are people willing to address those needs. You need to speak up for it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything?
Well, since I'm pinch hitting, I'm covering for the other 4 middle schools. Orchard Park, which is in a unique situation, it's a K-8 school located physically in the boundaries of Oakley, but they're Antioch kids who attend classes there, and it's a middle school. They've got 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They're just often overlooked. Then we have Park and AMS, and as Antioch Middle School, as I mentioned earlier, they have after-school programs, ACEs, and we have waiting lists. We can't keep them staffed. They're very successful, and the stuff the kids want in those after-school programs is dances, art, techno stuff. Of course, they want coding. Everybody wants to learn coding these days. And what they call Adulting 101. How to change a tire, how to cook spaghetti, how to fix a button on my shirt, okay? We're not gonna even go into pregnancy prevention or things like that. Daily normal tasks, because the parents are not there. I learned to sew and crochet and do all that homemaker domestic goddess stuff from my grandma in a different country, in a different era and generation. Who's gonna teach our kids how to take care of themselves right now, okay? So Adulting 101 is a big thing. Plus any social interaction like poetry clubs, read out louds, dances, sometimes just hanging out and playing silly card games in a corner of the library for an hour. It's socially interactive things where we can guide them in how they interact with each other, huge for the kids, and they want it. They don't always want to do homework club, and they don't always want to do structured stuff. Just giving them a safe place to hang out for a while, learn to interact with each other civilly, stay off the social media, you know, or at least be critical consumers of information. So those are the things we're addressing in the after-school programs. Then Black Diamond has their own, and Dallas Ranch Middle is trying to come up with, but they're much bigger schools, so they have a much larger percentage of students who are underserved. So, and they don't get any extra money either. So what can we do with limited school funds other than homework help and the occasional 6-week art program or something like that? That's not gonna fix the need.
Yoga.
Okay.
Love yoga.
They do love yoga, you know, so things like that. So even though we might be able to, or the district, I say the district, we are the district. We might be able to send some money to Phyllis based on her free and reduced lunch population in Title I rules and regulations. It's federal, there's lots of them. It does not meet the need for the school. We do need community partnerships, and I don't always mean cash on the barrelhead. The Girl Power movement actually started years ago in a small group in the Antioch High School after school program. And it just ballooned from there because it was a need that we met, and we met it on the girls' terms. It wasn't something that the adults superimposed. We asked them, we followed their lead, and look at where it took us. We have a community partnership there. So those kind of things, paying for the banners for the event, bringing the cupcakes for the afternoon meeting, those are the partnerships we need just as much as the $100 checks. So anyway, our middle schools definitely are a major area of concerns. In the elementary schools, you have those little communities, grade levels, there's issues, but elementary schools are kind of siloed. Middle schools, I got my start in middle schools as a teacher. They're still my favorites. They think they're hot stuff, but they still need their noses wiped and the occasional hug, And so middle school is probably our greatest need in terms of social emotional support and guiding them into responsible citizenship.
Good.
One other quick thing, if I could add, and that is that in order to learn, of course, you have to be there. You have to show up.
Yeah.
Truancy is a really big issue for us. When I say big, for me, I still manage somehow to get 95% of my kids there every day. However, that 5% that I don't get there every day are really crucial and key. Those are kids who are of most need. And I need them there as well as the kids who show up every day. So part of what we've learned, our experience has been through these types of activities that we can offer or do offer, we get more of those kids in. So there's a direct benefit to having the programs in that you are actually reaching those kids who are of greatest need.
On an average, 17 days more a year.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what Phyllis was describing, I know we're on time crunch. What Phyllis was describing, moving schools to project-based learning. Now we're no longer talking about youth engagement and out-of-school time programming, but we're talking about a fundamental need in education. Our system of teaching kids, learn some English, get up, move over a room, learn some math, get up, move over a room, learn some bio. That doesn't apply to this day and age. That integrated problem-solving based learning, that collaborative partnership in the classroom is something that needs to happen much more. But that's for the daytime education. Let's go back to
All right, so we'll open it. So do we want to do question, and then we open it?
Yeah.
Maybe then go so that it's fair.
So Phyllis, thank you for all that you're doing. You're doing some great work over at Black Diamond. I'm excited about the changes that you have. Thank you for sharing. The after-school sports program is really working. It's really engaging some of our youth. I'm excited to see the dances, art, coding, adulting 101, right? These other things that not all kids are into sports. And so these are the things that we have to engage. But it sounds like right now, Black Diamond, we have maybe an hour outside after school, and that's it.
That's it.
And really, and 3 days of the week, right?
3 days.
And dances, art, coding, doesn't sound like any of those things are really being offered. There's an open gym, right? That they can go participate.
Right.
So how do we partner together? Because around Black Diamond is schools. There's no place for those, is homes, right? There's no place for those youth to go. So how do we partner to utilize your facility so that it stays open until the parents get home at 5 or 6 o'clock at night?
I'm going to say that there are great models out there for partnerships between cities and school districts providing services and things to different targeted groups of kids. So I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel to do that. We've identified the need or what the problem is. You've identified what resources you have for it. I just think it needs to have the creative coming together of communities, people within the community to decide how to utilize those resources to bring that need, bring services to that need. So I would say for my 2 cents is that I like to hear what other people want to do with it too. We will provide coding on maybe 1 day a week,
Right.
but the need or the desire for it is larger than the 1 day a week. And then we don't have the resources to provide like a nice maker lab for the kids to do that with. That's something that could be owned by the city and we just use that kind. So those are things, when you bring all these people together to do that, I think you can make up a program that would really work and should.
traveling coding camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So my question is, only because I'm very proud of the the Girls Empowerment Project started at Starbucks over by Blue Rock with Councilwoman Monica Wilson, myself, Joy Motz, and Jason Murphy. So the four of us sat together and said, at the time there was a lot of violence with the young girls at the schools, and so we said we got to do something about this. So and you're all probably wondering why this guy was sitting with these women talking about how we're going to help women. So, I have a degrees in women's studies, and so that model that you described of it was very deliberate about not going to the girls and saying, here's what you need to do, but actually taking the information from it was all exploratory as well. And so that was deliberate in what we, so I take it as a source of pride when I hear people say, look at how big it's gotten, just by sitting down and having a conversation about how we solve these problems. So my question has to do with parent engagement. Can you talk a little about PTA, LCAP, whatever it may be? How involved are the parents at your school?
We do have an active English language learner parent group who has met only 3 times this year, but they're there, they come and they meet. Our PTSO is very, very small, and we have very limited parent engagement there. But on our school site council, we have about 4 or 5 parents who are consistently there and participate. We do activities at the beginning of the year. Usually I do a Million Fathers March kind of activity at our school to kick off the year and to bring our kids in. My dads show up. I have a boatload of dads that show up. We make a little tunnel in front of the school to, welcome them in, and sometimes the dads will stick around for that homeroom period because it's an opportunity for them to go to class with their kids. And when I say my dads, these are foster dads, big brothers, uncles, whatever male that is willing to come and be a part of that. And we even have some moms who come too, but it's primarily a father's thing. And we enjoy that at the beginning, and sometimes we can get them to come back periodically, but it's usually around some activity that we have to plan. So again, I have to remind you that most of my parents, majority of my parents work outside of the city. So it's planning and coordinating for them to get time off, and if they have the time off, to come for activities and things that we do. So as my parent engagement where I needed to be, we really struggle sometimes to do that. But are they still with us in that they participate in our surveys? They give us feedback on things that we want, even though they physically can't be there. Do we hold cyber meetings? Yes, we do that as well, so that we can hear their voice.
Thank you. And if there's anyone with a question, okay, Nancy has a question.
Just not a question, but we'll follow up afterwards when you focus on Orchard Park and how it feels like it's forgotten or isolated.
It is.
When the city talks about creating different layers of access and of ways to connect the community, we actually changed our policy structure to apply our resident rate to programs to the city of Antioch boundaries and Antioch Unified School District boundaries.
Thank
So
you.
reach out to those families at Orchard Park that don't live in the city boundaries proper, but they live in a school district. So most communities have a non-resident rate if you want to participate in the program because you're not paying a tax base. We recognize that our residents are not only Antioch City residents, but kind of reach out to our edges through the school district boundaries, and we've applied that residential rate. So again, we continue to look for creative ways.
Every little bit helps.
To provide access. And I'll get that information to you afterwards. You can share it with the principal and staff over there.
In terms of parent engagement, we have a lot of parent engagement when things go spiral. What we need to do as a school district and as a community is to give our parents more of a reason to be involved. I know the commuting issue, the workload, some of our parents work 2 or 3 jobs, stringing together to make a livable living wage. We get that. But if there's a good enough reason for you to come to school and spend an hour, and yes, you lose $50 pay, but it's worth it to be with your kid. That's what we're looking for as part of the summer school redesign, to have an exhibit at the end. We're doing some project-based learning stuff or thematic-based learning for starters. come to and see what your kid did these last 3 weeks and see how their reading score went up, see how they built. That would be worth it to parents, and that is a positive communication flow rather than, things are going wrong, you know. So giving reasons for the parents to take that time off, to take that risk of losing wages, and coming to be with their child, that's a big thing that we have to take on.
One other thing, if I can say real quick before that, and we try and remind our parents at least 2 or 3 times a year that there are laws out there, there are opportunities out there for you to contact your employer and let them know you're gonna be working in your child's school. And some employers are very good about allowing you time away from work that they give you credit for as you come into the school to help work with your kids. We've had several parents take advantage of that, and that's why we try and remind parents several times during the year that option for some employers is out there for you. And please take advantage of it because it's there and you don't lose anything.
I thought it was all employers, 40 hours a month, no?
Yeah, well,
I thought it was
some
a federal thing.
Some smaller employers and others have a harder time doing it. It is there for them, but their workload is such that my parents tell me that it just doesn't, it's not something that they can do. It's easier with larger employers, state, federal, city, county, those
Just
parents.
remind them if they have jury duty, their boss has to figure it out, so they can do it for their children, 1. And 2, you're expendable, your job will find a way to fire you if the need fits, so don't be too loyal.
From your mouth to their ears.
So that was my question.
Yeah. Oh, so that,
I always have a comment, sorry.
So, please questions, because we gotta
Yes.
wrap this up, so just make it a question.
Yes, so my kid was a Black Diamond student too. I had no idea that you guys did the father's welcoming. So, question, how do you get that information out since it's such a good turnout? And how can we use that information for other events? Because obviously whatever you're doing in that situation is now working. So how do we use that in other stuff?
It's interesting, I was just having this conversation with Nancy. We have tried everything to try and we do a bi-weekly parent newsletter. We use our social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter, to get information out to parents. We do email blasts. If we have your email through our Aries portal, we do little sometimes if you're around in school in the mornings or in the afternoon, you'll see us out there handing out little flyers or putting them on the car to, handing them to parents as they're dropping off their kids or picking up their kids. All of those things to try and get it out. When we started with, this year was our 3rd year doing the Million Fathers activity at the beginning of the year. So a lot of that is now word of mouth. They will call and ask, are you gonna do that activity again at the beginning of the year? And we get the word out early so that the fathers know it. Cause most of them will, tell their employer they have to be at their kid's school and they come for that. So it's really neat, and the kids love it, cause a lot of the fathers now don't tell the kids they're coming. So it's really neat to see the kid come up and go as they're doing it. So that we look forward to every year.
All right, and then last question from the audience, from Johnny.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and I know it might pertain to the panel earlier as well, but there's some great programs that are operating in Daniela. Some good programs that have been around for a long time and have worked with a lot of young people within the middle schools and also the high schools. And I know currently our organization is actually working at the elementary school. We've been asked to work at 2 other elementary schools next year, right? Is that I think that at some point, and I think Phyllis said it best, those people, all those organizations that are at the grassroots level that have been here for many years have to be part of that discussion and conversation, because I think one of the things that we do as a city, but also as school districts, we go outside and look for organizations to provide services within a city that they know nothing about. That they take the ideas or believe me, I've been asked to go to coffee with organizations that are coming to the city to try to learn off of me. I go, well, why aren't we providing that kind of service? But I also know that there's organizations maybe that are operating Antioch, they may not provide a different service, that you have to look outside, which makes totally sense. But I think a lot of times we don't reach out to the nonprofits or the organizations that are community-based, that have been providing services and understand the communities, right? Another thing is that I know for example, with schools, in regards to the relationship with school districts. A lot of times we put the responsibility of the schools to provide all these services after school, but the reality is those services that are provided after school is a benefit to the community and to the city. And my thing is that we've always, you know, to be honest with you, because we've worked with many, I've worked in every school district in East County, is we're always targeting the schools, where the city should step up and be part of that. But the thing is though, is a lot of times, for me, what I see is cities don't take enough input from young people to understand what are the services that need to be provided. I think us as adults, people in different positions, we want to dictate that agenda without asking youth, what does that look like in regards to providing the service? So my question to the schools, but also to the city is, what type of surveys or what kind of strategic plan have we created that's going to help create those conversations with young people to hear what the need is from them and not from us? Those kind of things. So it may be a question with the school district. Is there surveys in place or things in place? Because I'll be honest, I sit on a city council, and that's one of my big questions about that. So that's my question.
Only because we're time,
No,
all the time. So,
I agree.
well, before, this is so, just,
Wholeheartedly.
what we're doing in this process
Right.
is that. And so that's why we had the first panel, which was an overview of just youth, what we offer, but just getting an understanding of youth, just a framework. So the following panels are somewhat of a needs assessment, but not based on research or data, just conversations. What the mayor and I will be doing, we're having another one of these meetings on the 21st, which will be at 6 p.m., and that's for youth, parents, and teachers. But part of our work will also be one-on-one individual meetings with other organizations and other stakeholders in this process that will not necessarily be this type of setting, but it'll be a one-on-one conversation with myself or the mayor or whatever it may be. So we're gathering information for what you just described to inform the budget process for the city. Because as we said with Measure W, the residents made it perfectly clear what their priorities were: public safety, youth programming, and quality of life. So we're responding to what the community has asked us to do. So that being said, did you want to respond to it? And then that'll be the last kind of.
Yeah, but my question really quick on that is that a lot of times,
I have to stop because I want her to respond, and then we're already behind.
We have another panel. It's already here.
Well, yeah, we're really, needs assessment, look at the Healthy Kids Survey. Yes, it's somewhat post-mortem, the data is always a year behind, but it is really dense, because it's kids responding anonymously through questions in 6 different grade levels at all our schools. And it tells us how many kids under the age of 15 have tried marijuana. It tells us how many kids feel safe at their schools, how many kids have cut themselves, how many kids are happy. Healthy Kids Survey, I can get it to you, super rich data.
Thank you. A round of applause for her.